Let's talk about how to cut off your parents and other toxic enablers. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. I've been counseling men and women who have been victims and perpetrators of abuse for many years now. I have a question here from a commenter. It says, hi, please give me your professional opinion. At 7, I was stripped and beaten with no clothes on by my mom. Physical discipline, and of course there's more abuse. I want to cut her off, but how do I do that? And how do I stop enabling toxic people? This is a good question. So it sounds like there's definitely some stuff there. There's some history of maybe abuse there. Like you were saying, there's some other things. I don't know if it's just physical or if there's other types of abuse. And she says, oh, by the way, this is another a young commenter. She says at the end, I'm 24. So there's a special place for young people. But yeah, so it sounds like there might be some other things going on. Of course, I always recommend, seeing a licensed professional and working through the trauma. I also recommend, I think it's going to help you with learning to cut off and set firm boundaries. But to get you started, there's a lot of great self-help books out there, in terms of cutting off and letting go of toxic parents. So one book that I could recommend right off the top of my head is by Dr. Sherry Campbell, Cutting Off Your Toxic Parents, or something to that effect. Let me check. It's called But It's Your Family, Cutting Ties with Your Toxic Family Members. It's by Dr. Sherry Campbell. I've also interviewed Dr. Sherry, I think 3 times on my podcast, A Date with Darkness. So it's on all platforms. We did talk about that book. I believe it was on her first interview that I did with her. It's been a few years ago now. So you can always check that out if you like listening before reading a book. But you can always check out that book at your local library, things like that. I think that would be helpful. But, the important thing to remember is when you have people that are toxic and enabling and all this other kind of stuff, it's going to be, the people that you have in your life are a mirror. So the mirror reflects whatever the challenges are that you have. And so your challenge may be that I don't stand up for myself. I don't value myself. I don't love myself enough to say, you know what, this is not good. The way you communicate with me, the way you interact with me is inappropriate. So, the people that you have in your life, there's like a Facebook meme, and the meme has like all these these men on it. And it says, if you take a look back at all of your ex-boyfriends, you could actually sort of track your mental illness. And that's like a little funny joke, but it's kind of, it's funny, but there's some seriousness to it in that the people in our life often reflect back to us who we are. And if they're challenged, they are going to show us the challenges that we have. And unfortunately, you're going to keep attracting these types of people because it's going to be the different characters, but the same story. So until you work through, unfortunately, we keep drawing people like that to us. So if you think of people as like a lesson that you need to learn. So you need to speak up more. You need to tap into your emotions. So identifying your emotions is good because your emotions is going to give you data. And if your emotions are saying, I don't like that, or they scare me, or they hurt me, or I'm angry with this person, that is something that, those emotions are something that you need to sit with. So, if you've been traumatized by someone or by several someones, chances are you may need help with identifying your emotions and your triggers and learning to regulate your emotions. So learning how to sit with whatever you're feeling without spiraling, without lashing out, without, allowing it to mess up your entire day. So I would say with that, but I think, start speaking more, but identifying your feelings more, but speaking definitely, and take, when I worked with people and they're not sure, how do I, I'm not ready to cut off my mama yet. I know I need to let her go and she's bad for me and blah, blah, blah. I always tell people, like, why don't you take a little holiday? Take a little break. See how you feel with taking a little break. It can you maybe start off like a weekend. You maybe, stretch that weekend to 3 days with like no contact and see how you feel. If you feel better, if your days are better, your mood is lighter, then maybe that's giving you some feedback, like maybe something's right. So start off by taking little holidays with like not talking, not being accessible. So, maybe they call you on your phone and that sends you for a tailspin. So maybe block her number for 3 days or not answer her calls, and just see how you feel with that and continue to, extend the time. So maybe you can go from 3 days to 4 days, or 4 days to 5, and 5 to 7, and then from 7 to 14 days, and continue working on that. And, most of the time people are like, yeah, I feel a lot better. I don't even feel guilty. The more they start to become comfortable, and then it starts to become a norm. But, start off small. And then, I think other great things would be, journaling. But, when you do things like CBT, for example, a lot of people say, I want CBT, blah, blah, blah. It's good to know what your activating events are. So, CBT also incorporates mindfulness. So, what that means, in a short, time that we have left, if you have a thought or if you have an interaction or situation, and then it creates a thought in your mind. So it helps to know get a sense of what the situation is, and get a sense of what thoughts and feelings it's creating in you. And then based on those thoughts and feelings, how are you reacting to that? Like, what's happening to you physically? What's happening to you psychologically? Like, how does that manifest for you in the real world? So it helps to get to know yourself and get to know how certain people, places, or situations affect you. And that's, that raising that awareness in each situation or with each person I think that's the best start that you can have, and that's what's going to help you out tremendously. It's just like that level of self-awareness. And from there, you can start to identify your feelings more, and then, process how that affected you. You could be like, I saw my mother and she made me mad, and man, I was going through the day and I was slamming things. I was irritable. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I locked myself in a room, that kind of stuff, right? And then we can start to work on reframing. So the positive reframing, like, what can you say to yourself? Like, what sort of positive things can you say to yourself to reframe your thinking and therefore reframe your actions, right? So maybe you can say, my mother was in a bad mood. It has nothing to do with me, but I can I can change my behavior. And it helps to also understand that, I don't know how old your mother is, but if she's been doing this for many years, there's a high likelihood that she may not change. People can change, but a lot of times, if they don't feel like they have a problem, they're not going to make any effort to do that. And so the other part of it may be your level of acceptance. You cannot change other people, but you are in the driver's seat of yourself, and you can change yourself. So I hope that helps. Like, comment, share, and let me know what you think. Thanks so much for asking great questions.